Now, the final frontier, South Africa, for an Indian cricket team continues to be a dream, but at least the scorelines of the two test series won't read as a whitewash. There was no possibility of that with the pitch behaving the way it did and batters floundering on it from day one to, well, half of day two. So what are the takeaways or our talking points from this very short test series between India and South Africa? The first one has to be Jasprit Bumrah. If 2022 was the year of pain, anguish and recovery, 2023 is definitely the year when Bumrah would have to put all his months of hard work to test. A year away from competitive cricket is daunting to any player. Ask Rafa. There are nerves and you don't know how the body will hold up, how the mind will take charge. There are so many questions that will have to be answered. I think that's quite been the story of Jasprit Bumrah. His mind has always overcome every challenge. And whether that's mentally, emotionally or physically, right from the time he started encountering them. As a kid losing his father and overcoming all odds, to a father himself now, setting an example for many in his team to follow. And that persona of being a father figure or a mentor to the youngsters in the team is evident. We spoke earlier about how Mohammad Siraj was reaping the benefits of Jasprit Bumrah, putting the pressure up to hold up one end. At the post-match interview, that's what Siraj said. He, in fact, was talking about Bumrah. And when Bumrah had to go over to translate what Siraj said in Hindi to English, that's exactly what happened. Siraj spoke about how Bumrah in particular would always guide him, assessing new pitches quickly and give him inputs. And Bumrah, while translating that, selflessly converted the I to we. That's what a true leader sounds like, and rightfully someone who was adjudged player of the series. In the second innings, Bumrah was unplayable. He was accurate and diligent at the start, and the early breakthroughs unleashed the more fiery Bumrah that we all are so familiar with. He was intimidating the batters and setting them up nicely to falter and second-guess their own intentions. In fact, Rohit Sharma, right after that match, when asked about the bowling unit, said, and I quote, "Very special, something you don't get to see very often. We spoke about keeping things simple, and that's what happened. The pitch did the rest." Lot of credit to Siraj, Bumrah, and of course Mukesh and Prasidh. Everyone remembers the last few months, especially for Indian cricketers. It has been heartbreaking. And recently, a lot was thought and contemplated over some of the messages that Bumrah was giving through his social media handles prior to the Indian Premier League auction. But it was nice to see him all smiles, having put that face behind him, mentoring the kids around him and showing us that you don't really need to be the captain or have that tag to be a leader. From the heartening to the more concerning takeaways. Does the Indian side have the tenacity or the patience, especially in the batting department? That is something that showed a bit of a lack of depth, a void somewhere there. I know comparisons with the likes of Ajinkya Rahane, Cheteshwar Pujara, Murli Vijay, the predecessors in some sense, is unfair. But there is a certain rigor and adaptation that comes with Test cricket, and that seemed to be missing amongst not just some of the senior hands like Shreyas Iyer, who looked a little bit out of sorts in both Tests, but some of the youngsters too, like Yashasvi Jaiswal or Shubman Gill. Now, don't get me wrong, they are excellent exponents of the shorter formats. They can dismantle any attack single-handedly, but Test cricket is still something they are a while away from being good at, especially in challenging conditions such as what South Africa has to offer. The one positive was Jaiswal in the slip cordon, absolutely sharp. He was alert and pouched or stopped just about anything that came in his arc. Some stunning catches courtesy the youngster. And on to the third takeaway, and this one is from Cape Town in particular. The match lasted under 2 days, 107 overs or about. Wickets tumbled in heaps. Batting application was near to nothing, barring probably Virat Kohli for India, maybe even Rohit Sharma briefly, along with, of course, Aiden Markram, who came up with a scintillating knock in the last day. And even though not much was spoken about the way the pitch behaved, it was not lost on the Indian skipper, who was pretty scathing after the match. He said, and I quote, "I honestly don't mind playing on pitches like this, as long as everyone keeps their mouth shut in India and don't talk too much about Indian pitches. Honestly, when you are put up against a challenge like that, you come and face it. That's what happens in India. But in India, on day one, if the pitch starts turning, people start talking about puff of dust. And that the fact that there's so much crack there on the pitch. So there are things that the ICC, the match referees, they need to look into and start rating pitches based on what they see, not based on the countries. I think that's quite important. Now, it was a sentiment that was shared by the South African coach Shukri Conrad as well.
I don't know what people want me to say. You only need to look at the scores. 1.5-day test match. You need to look at how they chased 80. Sad state when you need more luck than skill. All the ethics and values of test cricket goes out of the window.
Now, the reason Rohit Sharma particularly pointed fingers at the ICC or the International Cricket Council there was because they had rated the ODI World Cup final pitch to be average. A pitch where we saw 100 being scored by an Aussie cricketer. Now, there have been many issues raised when the ball would start turning from day one on Indian pitches, like he's mentioned, or got over in 2 days. Now, it's happened only twice in India. That was once in 2021 when India played England in Ahmedabad, and of course in Bengaluru in 2018 when India played Afghanistan. Since the year 2000, it's happened 3 times over in South Africa, where a test match has gotten over within 2 days, and twice in Cape Town itself. But Rohit Sharma's larger plea is to be fair. Like he said at the post-match press conference, that testing and challenging conditions are always welcome, but that ICC should be fair in judging and rating pitches uniformly, whether it was the pitch in Ahmedabad or the one in Cape Town. The pitches must be rated on whether there is enough in there for everyone, a batter, a pace bowler and a spinner, and not be biased in their assessment. Seems fair enough. For now, though, the coming months, the challenge shifts back to T20 cricket as the series against Afghanistan approaches. And with reports suggesting that Kohli and Rohit have shown their intent in pursuing T20 cricket, things will get interesting.